I'm Simona Cotin.
And I'm John Papa.
And today we're creating a Node.js web app on Linux in Azure.
And we're going to go right to the docs right now where you can all follow along.
Cool, so the first step is downloading the sample application from Azure Samples. And I'm just going to go copy this command, paste
This will
it.
get us a Node Express app that just says a hello world.
Exactly. I'm going to cd that application and npm start just to see what we're building.
So when we're done with this quick start, we'll be able to take any Node application and push it up into the cloud, right?
That's exactly what we're going to do.
Hello world.
Yay! So going back to the docs page, we've run our app locally, and the next thing that we need to do is launch our Azure Cloud Shell. What's that?
So we need the Azure CLI or the Azure Cloud Shell so we can take the code locally and push it up into Azure. We could install the Azure CLI, or we could use the Cloud Shell, which is integrated right into the portal and the docs.
Cool, so I'm going to go to the portal page, and I'm going to click this Cloud Shell icon. And this is going to open a terminal for us where we'll be able to run AZ commands.
AZ is the short for Azure CLI.
Yeah. Cool, so we're connected. Let's see what kind of commands we can run here.
So we just type AZ, it's going to show us that we're using Azure and show us all the list of commands. That just proves it works.
Okay, back to the docs. The first step is creating a deployment user. And I'm going to go ahead and copy this command, go back to the Azure portal, and paste it. So my favorite username is Cotin, and my favorite password is secret10.
Obviously, you're going to change it later, right?
Definitely.
Awesome. So this is the username and password that you have for Azure, so you can actually connect to it and push your code. Fantastic. So now our user is set up. What's next?
Well, next we need to go create a place on Azure where we want to deploy our application. And that's what it's called, a resource group. And I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And I'm going to name my resource group Linux QS.
Okay. Linux QS for a quick start. And the location is West Europe. We can put that server anywhere we want in the world, relatively close to us, or we can make multiple.
Yep.
Now once we do that, we go back to the docs, the next step is we have to create a plan. And a plan is basically we're picking the kind of server we want, and we're going to tell it that it's running Linux, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to copy this command and paste it in the terminal.
Right inside the Cloud Shell.
And I'm going to use the resource group that we've just created.
Linux QS. And then we have to name the app service plan. Why don't we call that Linux QS plan?
That sounds like a plan, John.
It is a plan.
Perfect.
So this is creating that plan for us using the SKU of S1, that's the size for the server, and the most important flag is at the end, because we want Linux, we're telling it is Linux, with dash is Linux.
Exactly, and this is going to output a JSON object that we can see right here in the docs. And the next step is actually creating the web app.
Now that we have a server and a place to put it,
exactly,
we have to have a web app for it.
So I'm going to copy this, go back to the terminal.
And there's the output that you talked about.
And then I'm going to paste this, use the service plan that we've just created. So this is going to be Linux QS plan. And then my resource group is Linux QS. And so now I need to name our app, and that's going to be Cotin Quick Start.
Okay. This just has to be unique for you. This is Cotin, that's your username. But you don't have to do that, you can name it anything. And we're also telling it, as you hit enter here, that we're using Node 8.1. That's going to be our platform that we're going to run on top of Linux. And what's that last flag do?
It just says that we're going to use a deployment local Git. That just means that we're going to have a GitHub repository in our app service, in our web app.
Okay, so basically this is what's going to enable us to push the code locally up there using that web app user we created up to this web app in the cloud.
Yep.
Great, it just created it.
Awesome. So going back to the docs page.
This will help us take a look and see that we just created it. We'll go browse to it.
Yep. So I'm going to copy the URL and replace the app name with
Cotin-Quick Start, right?
Yeah.
And if this works, we should see like a placeholder web page that gets created for us when we create a new web app. Now the first time you hit this, it's starting up the server because we've never run it before, right? So it'll take a moment. And there we go, success. But that's not what we want. We want our Hello World app. How do we get there?
So what we're going to do is just push our code to Azure.
Okay.
And we do that by adding a remote URI to our Git repository.
Okay, so we copy that again.
And now we go to our terminal.
Go into the folder where our code is, and we'll do a git add remote. Git remote add.
And we need to go copy the URI from the Cloud Shell.
We're copying the URL here.
Going back to the terminal.
Git remote add, and we'll call it Azure, and then we'll paste in that URL to the remote. Success.
Awesome.
Now that we have the remote and it's connected, all we have to do is push, right?
Push our code.
Push our code up into the cloud.
So I'm going to copy this really short command because I'm super lazy.
We push that there.
It's going to ask for my password.
Secret 10 again. Okay, so we're starting to push it up there. It's almost there. So if this is successful, we should be able to go back to the place where we went to the browser, typed in the URL, and instead of seeing the placeholder web page, we should be seeing the Hello World, right?
Yeah, that's correct, John.
Awesome. So it's generating those remotes, the script commands, and the deployment, and it's copying them up there. I'll bet you by the time we flip over, it will be there. So now we can take a look inside the browser to see if this is running our Hello World.
Yep, that's true.
Let's give it a try.
So let's open a new tab, paste our URL, and here we are, our Hello World application.
Hello World.
App into the cloud.
So we just had success taking a Node app and pushing it up into the cloud on Linux. We can do this with any Node app though, correct?
That's correct, John.
Awesome. Thank you for coming. My name's John Papa.
I'm Simona Cotin.